Hello and welcome to the Quantum Bridge for myself, Casper, my co-host Gary, and I'm pleased to say that we also have yet another new guest, new to us, and therefore we're as interested in understanding who she is and what she does as hopefully you guys are. So before I go on too much, as I often do, I'll pass across to Gary, and you can do the introductions, mate.
Great, thank you very much, Casper. Hope you're keeping well. As I hope our new guest for today, who I met on X, like a lot of our guests. I've enjoyed her posts very much and her content. So I would like to introduce Kirsten to the show today. Welcome, and how are you keeping?
I'm keeping very well, thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you for having me. So happy to be here.
That's all right. Is this the first time you've done one of these podcast things?
It is the very first time.
There we go. Yeah, it's all right. There's a lot of people like that on here. It's part of the sort of ethos of the show, and we know what it's like. And I've done over 100 of these and still struggle. So that's part of my nature. But we'll get into that a little bit. So, because you're new to the show and new to us as well, maybe you could just give a little bit of background of yourself before we get onto the main topic of the day. Maybe where you're from and a little bit of the work that you do. That'd be great.
All right. Well, I'm from well, I live in the US. I'm from Oklahoma, and that's where I am right now. Where am I from, though? That's a big question, and I'm not really even sure I can answer it. But I have been aware that I'm a light worker for many, many years now. And I don't even know where to start with that because that's a huge thing. So it would take a long time, but I'll just kind of break it down. At this point, I am a yoga instructor. I also teach dance and Tai Chi, and I'm an energy worker, and I read tarot cards. And those are the things I sort of do as to earn a living. And I'm a writer. So I'm a bit of a jack of all trades.
Yeah, we've had another.
Those are the things
that yeah, we've had a couple of yoga people on here, and Casper's a writer. It seems to be sort of part of, I guess, the sort of network. I know you do your Reiki as well, don't you? And so, and
yes,
yeah, it's really been really nice. Like I said, I enjoy a lot of your insights that you post and things. There was one that sort of caught my particular attention, I have to say, because it was to do with purpose, and however you wanted, wanted to address the names of light workers or star seeds, or however we want to use that term, but the struggle throughout life and fitting into, how do you want to call it, whether the day-to-day or the 3D, and the struggles of that, and that sort of wondering why we don't quite fit in there. Now, I don't know if you could maybe go, expand on that and go into more detail than I've just given here, because I find it interesting.
Well, yes. I really, for many years, felt like a complete failure as a light worker because I didn't feel that I was fulfilling my purpose. I mean, we were talking about those awful jobs that people have, 9 to 5. And, I was working really stressful jobs and really feeling like a failure in so many ways. And even still, when I broke away from that, it's been a constant financial struggle because I really have trouble with the 3D world. Because I just don't really focus on making money. And then I go, oh my gosh, I need money. What am I going to do? That kind of thing. So it's really been a struggle for me. And I thought that it's a struggle for all of us, everyone I talk to. And a lot of the light workers are star seeds, and we all call ourselves different things, and it doesn't really matter.
Mm.
Anyone who's here and feels that it's their purpose to raise the vibration on the planet, I think really goes through this struggle because we're wired differently. We're wired differently. And it's not that anyone likes 9 to 5. I know very few people who actually like it and think it works for them, but they do it because they feel like they have to. But it's even worse for the light worker because we know that this is not fulfilling our purpose. And for instance, if you work 40 hours a week doing something that you despise, and then you don't have time to work on your passion or what lights you up, you just fall more and more into this depression, I find, with lots of people. But I also find that there are a lot of light workers who feel like they're a failure. And I felt like that for years. I was like, oh, I'm such a failure. I'm not getting my message out there. I'm not getting my writing out there. I'm not getting anything out there. I'm just working at this job and feeling like crap when I get out of here. And I really went through some deep soul searching, and I turned to my guides, and I'm really bad with my guides. I always throw fits to them. In fact, I wrote something once about it's okay to yell at higher dimensional beings, but I was like, what, I want to fulfill this purpose that I'm here to do, and I'm not doing it. It's not working. And their response to me was, you are doing it. It is working. Just because it doesn't look the way you think it should look at this point doesn't mean you're not fulfilling your purpose. And what they really made me see was that our ultimate purpose here is to live and experience life, however that plays out, and to raise the vibration. And we have a tendency, well, because we're programmed to feel that there has to be a goal and the goal must be achieved. And if you have not achieved this goal, whatever it is, whether it's to publish a book or, get 1 million followers on YouTube or whatever it is, if you haven't achieved that purpose, you're programmed to think, well, I'm a failure. I haven't achieved my purpose. I haven't achieved my goal, so therefore I have not achieved my purpose. And ultimately, the real purpose changes in the moment. Like, for instance, our purpose right now is to do this podcast. You may be at the grocery store and your purpose may be to smile at someone or to help someone with their cart or whatever. There are millions of purposes that you can do every day. And even if you're caught in a 40-hour-a-week job that you really feel is soul killing, you can look at what you do every day and find ways to bring your purpose to it. Like maybe your purpose is to help your coworker, or maybe your purpose is to get something done for someone. And it doesn't have to be that big, wonderful, I'm a famous light worker influencing millions of people thing. Not that you shouldn't work for that. A lot of people took that post as me saying, oh, don't do anything, just, lay back, it's okay. And it is okay. But if you really feel called to do something, right, do it. Do it. If you have talents that you want to share, do them and work towards that, even if it feels like right now it's not working out. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I've struggled with for, I don't know, decades and decades. Yeah. I suppose my entire existence on the whole. And that's before I even understood any of this spiritual aspects. I think that's another side, because I have had this feeling inside for a long time. I'm supposed to do something. So that was incredibly frustrating, having that feeling and doing this stuff that just wasn't, and then you sort of think, well, what, you try and go along that sort of hierarchy, then, okay, well, let's have another go. Let's try and work up the ladder. I don't know, work hard. That's what they say in it. Work hard and be good, and you get rewarded. This hasn't been the case for me. I can work my socks off and stay on the bottom rung. So, so, and then you're confused. I guess that's all this part of breaking out and awakening. They're just like, what the hell is going on? And like you say, even
Yeah.
I, I've mostly done retail work. It's all retail. Even when I was in an office, it was still for a retail outlet. I thought, wow, I've made it off the shop floor. You know, well, I've got a desk job, and but I did that for a while, and it's the same. It was the same inevitable outcome. We would, and we'd sit there as you had a few friends, and we would be emailing, jokes and stuff to try and get through the day, and you know, looking up things like "Can you die from boredom?" and these sorts of stuff to if that was actually
Yeah,
a thing that could happen. Because I think,
really.
yeah. But I think that term soul destroying, that's what it felt like. And like I said, this was before I even, understood any of the spiritual aspects. But then as that awakening happened
Yeah.
more recently, I also had that moment where I was just standing there saying, guys, you've got to help me out here. Just like, what,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if I've got this strong thing, you got to help me find out how to do it. Yeah. I'm still not sure it's particularly this,
I
but
can
it's a
so
good
relate.
start. Actually, a
Yeah.
lot has come from this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can relate to that. And really it's set up that way, isn't it? Because they really don't want us to ascend. The parasite class does not want us to ascend. They want to keep us in that box. And one of the ways they keep us in that box is forcing us to be in that 9 to 5 place where we're just struggling to get by. And so it is really confusing and difficult. And when I first started doing when I first started awakening, which it's been many, many years and it's been quite a process, that was the first thing I said, I can't do this. I can't keep doing this. And yet I had to keep doing it because how am I going to eat? How am I going to put a roof over my head? I don't know. And it really made me angry. And I raged about it. I raged about, I can't do this. And ultimately, one of the hard things is that we have to accept at some point that there is going to be some of that in this world. And that's not that we can't break out of it, but that if we haven't broken out of it yet, we're not failures. It's a process. And I don't know. I mean, I haven't completely broken out of it yet. And my main thing right now is teaching yoga, which I didn't even, it's like I love to teach yoga. I'm not dissing that. I'm very privileged to be able to make money that way. And I don't make enough money that way, but I'm very privileged to be able to do that.
Mm.
But at the same time, that was never really, it was something I sort of fell into. I mean, I guess I was guided into it, but it wasn't really my goal to teach yoga. I studied yoga very intensively for 3 years. That was pretty much my whole focus for 3 years. And I studied with master teachers, but I was doing that for my own growth. I was doing that for my own self. I came to yoga with PTSD and, I was a mess. I had high anxiety. I was a mess. And when I started doing yoga, it really helped me. And so I really wanted to pursue it. But it wasn't with the idea that I'm going to teach yoga. I took teacher trainings, but it was because I wanted to know everything I could know about it. And then it just sort of happened. I fell into it. Well, I would say spirit put me there.
Mm.
And at first, I really even though yoga is a very spiritual practice, the place where I teach yoga in a gym. I live in rural country. There's not a yoga studio around here. And so when I came to teach yoga here in this place, it wasn't even yoga that what I would have termed real yoga. And I had to really modify what I did. But eventually it came to me because I was like, I don't even have people who are serious yoga students. I have people who just want to feel better. And I think a lot of times we tend to, if we're really serious about something like that, think, oh, well, that doesn't make any difference. It makes a huge difference. It actually makes a huge difference. I feel like I make a much bigger difference for the students I have than if I were teaching in a traditional yoga studio with really serious students. But I came to that over time. And I realized that I am fulfilling my purpose, even though maybe it's not the writing career that I had hoped to have, which I still have. I'm having that. It's coming. It's just not been slower than I would like. But I think the teaching yoga was a really good bridge. But what I realized with that was my purpose. I walk into that class, I bring the energy. I'm an energy worker. And most of my students are not aware of that. Although some of them say, oh, I feel so good when I come in here. Well, I'm doing that because I want to help everyone raise their vibration. And so I realized that actually probably Spirit had a better idea about a lot of this than I did. Obviously, that always happens, right? So at some point you wake up and go, oh yeah, I guess you were right. But I realized I'm really, in a lot of ways, fulfilling my purpose in ways that I never considered doing. But I also think even if you're in a job that you despise, there are ways to raise the vibe. And, like even when I worked as a newspaper editor for years, and I have this memory one time, our publisher had made one of the women in the office cry, and I walked into the bathroom, and she was in the bathroom just sobbing her eyes out. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I taught her how to do forward bend. I mean, I didn't know what else to do. I was like, what am I going to do? And it really helped her. So even before I was actually teaching yoga, I was helping people that way. It didn't occur to me, well, you're fulfilling your purpose there.
Yeah.
But I was.
Yeah, I agree. That's always when I've been in the workplace.
Yeah.
Because, like you say, you think you're there to do that job you're being paid to do. But I guess I would always have those people drawn to me. I always felt, because sometimes I used to think, do I want to be a counsellor? And that sort of used to resonate. But I would be doing that to all the workers. That would be the guy they would come to and tell all their secrets and, and knew everything about everyone and their problems. And I thought, my thing was, why can't I get paid for that? Because, and then you're back in that system.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. You're back in that system that says, well, you can't because you don't know how to do it until you get this bit of paper and follow our schedule. And you're like, oh man. There's no such thing as of just flow state or it's so then that becomes frustrating, all those procedures. You think, oh my god, yeah. So yeah, I think there's two points I've taken from it. Is one that the smaller things matter, that it doesn't have to be anything grand. I mean, I tend to, I've got a couple of cats that moved in, so they obviously like it here. So, there's those little things like that taking care of them, and the energy aspect that I never understood. That of holding that higher vibe, anchoring that in, if you like, to help maybe stabilize things. How do you feel about that, especially in this sort of tumultuous times? Yeah.
Well, I think that's our biggest purpose. I really do. I think that's why we're here. I really feel like, I mean, my guides told me that, they said the reason you're there is to bring your vibration. You're not there for anything else. And I mean, you can do other things and you should do other things and do everything you can, but that's really the key. And I'll tell you, I had this dream. It's been quite a few years ago now. I had this dream where I was going to this job interview and I got there and they didn't even interview me. It was just like, oh, you have the job. And I was kind of taken aback because I said, well, don't I have to talk to someone or something or do something? They're like, no, you're hired. And I talked to the boss and I said, okay, well, what are my duties? And he said, well, I don't know, just show up. And I said, well, what do I do? He said, just bring your energy and show up. And there was this big bridge in the middle of the office. And he said, really, what I'd like you to do is just stand on that bridge and just be. And I said,
Sounds like a quantum bridge to me.
and at the time yes, exactly. Well, and here we are. And it kind of puzzled me at the time, but when I realized that it was, a big dream. I call them big dreams when I have dreams that are not more than just my own little weirdness. When I have these dreams, I feel like I was actually spoken to by some higher source. And so I knew that. And I was like, and the boss in this dream was so laid back. I mean, he was just hanging out. This really laid back, mellow guy. I was like, all right. And but over time, that dream really began to make more sense to me, especially when we started talking about bridging, because we are the bridge. We are the bridge that is bringing the new world in. And because we brought that higher vibration down. And so even if we never achieve our goals, and I think we will, and I don't, goals as in what you want to do with your 3D life. Even if we don't achieve those goals, the real goal is to raise the vibration. And the real goal is to bring your vibration and add that to the collective, because the collective on earth has been kept in such a low vibration for so many years. I don't even know how many years, thousands of years probably, that they really, I think, had gotten to the point that they couldn't raise it the way that it needed to be raised. And I think that's ultimately why people like us are here.
Yeah, I think that's very profound message and energy that you have as well. And I totally resonate with that dream and whomever that was, an aspect of your higher self. However we want to take that, or you want to, it's your really it's a key message for you, but it's a key message, I'm sure, for many of us. And yeah, you do have that. And it doesn't matter that it's through the internet in this instance, or in person in a yoga environment, or that you're just at home on your own and shining that light out into the world. It's the profundity of the message is in the energy rather than in the action. Although I agree with you that the action isn't to be belittled in any way. We're all here to take action in the 3D, but yeah, it's a very, very lovely message, actually, that that you can be doing your work despite of the fact that you're outside the sort of 3D machinations don't appear to be in line with your higher purpose. Your higher purpose is happening anyway. It's very profound message.
Yeah, I agree. How are you? I think a lot. I wanted to do this show because it's certainly me and Casper have these conversations quite a lot of where we're at now, because we do feel to be at a point where we are doing a lot more things what we would say we're more aligned with. However, like you said, you have to put food on the table, and that is it's almost like now you've made the decision. I'm off. I'm going to give it one last shot and stick to our guns. This is now or never type thing. But then there's that pull still of like, yeah, but that bill is just coming through the door. You need to pay the phone bill, the internet, or it's kind of. And I know Casper's had this as well. Just that you need that, but it is pulling at us, and it's difficult to make it fit. I just think a lot of our audience and our other guests are starting to feel this, that it's very difficult to slot back into that mode. Now, do you have any words of wisdom in this thing to help people? Maybe I mean, I don't know. Who knows how long this takes? But it's kind of like one foot in, one foot out, and you just like, come on. It's difficult, right? Yeah.
No, I can so relate to that. I mean, that's where I am right now, honestly. I'm at the do or die phase. And I've really been wrestling with it. But what I'm trying to do, because your mind is freaking out, right? And my mind freaks out. I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? Get a job. What are you doing? It's like, and and I know I have been faced with some real challenges lately that I've like, okay, I've really got to start bringing it. I've got to bring it because I'm at the point where things are not going to go so well if I don't get more things figured out. But what I've been guided to do is to really look in my heart and follow that instead of listening to this mind that's going, oh, the bill's going to come due. Are you going to have enough money to pay this bill? Are you going to have enough money to pay that? You need to do something right now. You need to do it. You need to do it. What are you doing? That's my mind. My heart's like, okay, we're good. We've got this. And rather than, because the tendency and what we're programmed to do is to go out and say, okay, I've got to beat the bushes and find myself a job and do all this stuff, and I got to find it. And okay, there is some of that. You do need to go out. You do need to step out of your comfort zone. You need to, of course, for people like us, I mean, I think we're always outside of our comfort zones in some way. This whole world is not my comfort zone, right? But
yeah.
But right.
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, it's like, okay, what is the comfort zone? I don't know. No, actually my comfort zone is the woods. But I think that, and I can feel it. I can feel it happening. It's not so much manifest in the physical world yet, but I can feel it. And I'm talking to a lot of people who can feel it because the vibe is really going up right now. And as it goes up, it gets easier and easier for people like us to navigate. So there's that. But I think we really need to focus on what lights our heart up because our intuition, our higher self knows. It can see the whole picture and it knows. So maybe what you need to do, or what I find I'm being guided to do, is just go and do the things you feel called or guided to do. And know that those opportunities are going to come up because your intuition will tell you, and your intuition will not lead you wrong. And I think that struggle that we all have is in listening more to that intuition and less to your mind freaking out and saying, oh my gosh, this isn't going to work. Nobody does things this way. What are you doing? You know? And that's really hard.
Yes.
But we can do it. We've got it. We've got it. Right? We've got
Yeah.
I don't know how
I mean,
this.
y'all, you're doing it right now. podcast. You're doing it. It's building. You just have to keep building it, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that we're flickering in and out of this. I've said this on other podcasts with like Dennis Bullock, who we've spoken with about 5D, for example, that it does appear we're flickering in and out of that. And things that in a 5D expression would just be normal to us, and we wouldn't have this arising of this questioning of this doesn't feel right, this can't possibly work, whatever. It will feel right, but it can't possibly work, and your mind trying to unravel it and take you back into that fear arena. I think that that's all that's happening. It feels to me like that intuition is absolutely guiding and will guide us right, and we're not used to that taking over or being prevalent, even though on one hand we love that and we resonate with that and we know that that is the true way. It's just there's some sort of state of amnesia around that, it appears.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because like you say, there's that
Yes.
to keep going. Yeah, it just feels that transitionary period. I find.
I think this is meant to be uncomfortable. I don't think this transitionary period is comfortable for anyone.
No, it definitely feels that.
I agree. Well, it is, and it's true. And as the vibe goes up, everything that's not in alignment is coming up. So of course we're going to have these crises where we're like, oh gosh, because we've been holding that energy in our beings, and excuse me, and as the vibe goes up, you can't hold on to that stuff anymore. You can't push it down and say, I'm not going to deal with that. You have to deal with it. And so I think that's what a lot of it is too. It's just a normal part of, because if you look back over your life and you think about all of the times that you came to another epiphany, you came to another level, your consciousness expanded, what happens right before that happens? Usually everything falls apart and you're like, oh my gosh, and the thing that becomes clear is, well, I can't continue like this, right? So that's really, I think, what's happening for almost everyone I talk to, even people who are completely unaware of the ascension that's going on. All of these things that maybe they haven't dealt with in the past are coming back to haunt them. And I think for a lot of us who have really struggled with earning a living, part of that is the financial thing, right? Because that's something that we have struggled with and tried, and just kind of been like, well, this is how it is. I've got to do this, and not really looked at the things within our psyche that are kind of keeping us in that place, because ultimately it's ourselves that are keeping us here. So
whether we like to admit it or not, yeah. Okay. Well,
yeah. I know.
It's another realization, but it's a good one because it means it's empowering as well. Yeah. That's it. So,
yeah.
As we mentioned, Kirsten, we're running out of time as usual. so
It went so fast.
I know it does go fast, but I hope it's been fun for yourself and for the audience. We've had a bit of a laugh today and tried to take these topics in a lighter tone. So it's and I think it will resonate with a lot of people. So thank you for that and the insights you shared with us today.
Yeah, thank you very much for bringing your energy to the bridge.
Brilliant.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I've had a blast. I love it. I love to talk
you'd
about
be
this
most
kind of
welcome
stuff.
back at some point.
Join us again.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Loads more to cover.
Anytime.
Great. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon. Take care.
All right. You too.